Hello you intergalactic iguanas, and welcome to my review of Phantasy Star Portable 2 Infinity and Beyond. Oh, PSP2i, why are you so good? This is without a doubt the best Phantasy Star game from the PS3, Xbox 360 and before generations. Without a doubt, the best one of the bunch. As is the norm now for the Phantasy Star games, you get to create your own character, and there are so many options for you to choose from. Yes, it's maybe lacking a little bit in the eye department, but when you have 70 plus hairstyles to choose from, even though there's only like 3 regular hairstyles, which normal people would have, it's still the fact that you get so many choices on how you want to build your character. There are plenty of costumes as well and outfits which you can start with. I mean, I was with like the starting outfit for ages just because they look so cool. But you can still get so many more in the shops and unlock more as you get through some story missions and open missions and many missions in this game, let's put it that way, that you get to choose from and play. But you get to unlock so many different things. As you have your own custom character, you also get the dialogue choices with the story. Speaking of, the story itself is pretty fun. Both episode 1 and episode 2, I can't really pick a favourite, just because they both have their pros and cons, so I can't really go, oh yeah, this is without a doubt my favourite one. They just blend in so well together that they're the same thing to me. I can't really separate them into segments, even though the game does that for you. But anyways, the story itself, yeah, it's pretty fun. It's not really lackluster. It's not as frustrating in some ways as Phantasy Star Universe was, where you just started to slowly hate the characters. There are some clunkers as far as the characters goes in this, but there's not really any which I would say are an absolute nightmare to listen to, and that you just want to choke as much as possible because they're so frustrating. It still has that issue though where, because you do get dialogue choices, it feels like the people are talking at you as opposed to you, and then, you know, 55 lines of dialogue have gone past, and then you quickly pick your dialogue choice and go, oh yeah, and then that's pretty much your sentence. That's all you get to talk about until the next one shows up. They never really found that kind of balance when you do have the silent protagonist and you get to choose the dialogue choices, that it actually feels like you're, you know, contributing to the conversation instead of, you know, people just screaming at you and basically telling you what they think, and then you go, I disagree, and then they're like, how dare you disagree? Moving on to the combat, it's Phantasy Star. It's solid combat overall. It doesn't feel that it's clunky. Like, it definitely seems to be an improvement. It feels a lot more fluid than Phantasy Star Portable, for example, and even Phantasy Star Universe. Yes, there is still the issue that there's no camera, unfortunately, to choose from. So you'll have to press like just L. I was going to say L1, but it's just L on the PSP that you just kind of lock onto a target. And it is a little bit annoying sometimes. Like, sometimes it doesn't actually lock onto the target like you want it to. You get used to it after a while, and by after a while I mean like the first hour you play the game, you're just like, okay, right, this is what I gotta do. It would really benefit from having that right analog stick, but it's on the PSP and it doesn't have one. Maybe if you could hold a button and then use the D-pad to move the camera, it might have helped, but yeah, that's not an option. I do wish there was more of like a Dynasty Warriors combo system added though, where like you press square and then press triangle for a heavy attack, but then you also have the photon arts as an option. That would be really good, but for what we have, it may be simple, but it works really well. Another big improvement is that the photon arts, they use PP. They use photon power points, whatever you want to call them, photon points. There's a proper name for it, but PP will do. Power points, that's Pokemon, so that's what it'll always be for me. It recharges so much faster in this. Whether that was a change that was made in the original Phantasy Star Portable 2 or not, I don't know, because I literally went from Phantasy Star Portable to Infinity, and it's so much faster. It doesn't feel like you're having to wait an age, which it felt like, especially in Universe. Maybe I need to go back to that and check it out, but it just felt like you're waiting so long for the PP to recharge. But in this, it's not an issue. You can't spam your photon arts, but it's not really a long wait. You do have to like build up a combo, wait a tiny bit, and then you can use your photon arts again. So I'm so glad that was fixed. Also, there's so many weapons. I think it said like something stupid like 3,000 weapons to be able to choose from, and it definitely feels like it, not in a bad way, but you do get different weapon designs. Even if you're going to have like the sabers or the pistols, whatever you want to choose, there are different variations that you can choose from. So not only do the guns look differently, but they act differently as well, which again is a great addition to have. So even if you do like using the sabers like I do, and the dual sabers, it still feels like you're using different weapons if you using different versions of that same weapon type. And like I said, there's so many missions to choose from. The issue that the earlier Phantasy Star games, or the earlier action RPG Phantasy Star games had, is that it did feel like you doing those 3 missions over and over again and doing the same map over and over again. With this one, there's a lot. There's so many missions that you don't feel that you have to go back and replay the old ones again and again and again. Yes, you can do that if you're trying to look for a certain weapon, armor, or massively unique item. You can do that, it's not a problem, but it doesn't feel like you have to, whereas you kind of did in the earlier ones. And these are some of the best looking maps. Yes, there's the issue with like draw distance because it's on the PSP, but there's so many vibrant and colourful looking maps that it really does feel like you're taking place on different planets when you're doing these story missions or other missions. It actually feels like that, whereas it kind of didn't in the earlier ones as well. It felt like this could all just be in the same place. It doesn't necessarily mean it's on a different planet. And as is par for the course, the actual boss fights feel different with each different boss fight, and the boss designs themselves are something that Phantasy Star's always done incredibly well. The bosses look mean, they look angry, they look dangerous. The designs themselves are always solid when it comes to the Phantasy Star games. So before I gush even more, I think it's safe to say I recommend that you give this a try. So I'm so glad that Phantasy Star Portable 2 Infinity has got the translation, the English translation, because it's so annoying actually that it didn't get released in the first place, because it really is the best version of the Phantasy Star games. It takes the best parts of all of the previous action RPG ones and then just goes, yeah, let's crank it up a little bit, improve them slightly, and it really does give you the best overall experience. It is without a doubt worth a try. Go and play it right now!